I keep asking everyone, is this real life? Like, so crazy. First off, I'd like to thank the Core Network for making this an opportunity. And then also an opportunity for me to meet other Core members because they're really inspirational people. Oki, Nistu, Anak, Rosie. Gi six amatsumo binan, nok tu six gates at beat, suck home. Nimata soke si poyip. Nixis nak ke si poyes. Hello, I am called Rosie. We welcome you here. I come from the Blackfeet lands. I don't speak Blackfeet well, but I'm learning. Continuing to prosper. I'm an 18-year-old. Thank you. Okay. I am an 18-year-old Native American Pekani from the Blackfeet Indian Reservation in Browning, Montana. I also identify as Hispanic. I served with Montana Conservation Corps on the Pekani Lands crew during the summer of 2019. This crew was for us who identify as Pekani or Blackfeet. We complete projects on our ancestral lands with different land management agencies, such as Glacier National Park and the U.S. Forest Service, as well as nonprofits and tribal entities. I started school at Blackfeet Community College this past fall as a full-time student majoring in psychology for my AA degree. With a strong desire to become a trauma therapist in the future, I will further my education at a 4-year accredited university, perhaps the University of Montana in Missoula. I plan to bring my knowledge back home to the reservation. In November of 2018, I was involved in a tragic car accident that pinned me between 2 vehicles. The outcome was very life-threatening. But laying my life into God's hands, I was not scared. After experiencing so much trauma, I learned to live a lot more, making every second worth it. I did not let this accident define me or make me afraid. I started stepping outside my comfort zone and taking risks. A life-changing experience can turn into a beautiful thing with many open doors. Before I could serve with the Pekani Lands crew, I had obstacles to overcome, but I always came out on top. I was a student at Buffalo High Academy, an alternative school on the reservation. That was a huge part in finishing my education and making me the inspirational person I am. Everyone at Buffalo High is like family to me. My teachers and counselors always checked on me and told me what classes to focus on to graduate and to never overwhelm myself. Before my accident happened, I was already struggling with graduating on time. When everything happened, I was out of school for a month. I came back fresh from Harborview Medical Center in Seattle, Washington. I had the determination to get back into school and do what I needed to do. Honestly, I wasn't stressing about it or worrying, but my education was my main priority. I am thankful for my brother for having the patience and making time to transfer me to and from school in a wheelchair. In order to help me heal, I had to wear a device which consisted of 2 bars jabbed into both sides of my hip and a center bar to keep them in place. I still pushed myself under any pressure. I did this for nearly 4 months until I got the bars removed. Then I was allowed to use crutches. Doctors were positive I wouldn't be able to walk for several months, or maybe not at all. But with my community and all the support, I made a strong comeback. I started walking again, and I graduated on time with the class of 2019. Everyone would have expected me to be a doctor because of all the knowledge I've taken in about every repair in my body and the healing I went through. But what interests me most is what goes on in the human mind when these traumatic experiences happen. When Montana Conservation Corps interviewed for a second round, I was still recovering from my accident. I picked myself up, believing I could do anything and everything, so I asked to interview in hope of challenging my abilities. I had motivation and sought challenges to try new things I have never done. Without knowing anything about Conservation Corps, my little curious self saw it as an adventure to take risks and complete laborious projects every day in any weather. When I was chosen for the Bacani Lands crew, I had this excitement I never felt in my life. I got my family's input because of the constant worry they had about my injuries and because I have asthma. They were happy for me and told me it was something I should go for, although they were concerned for me physically. I give a lot of credit to my family for the encouragement they give me through every decision and every challenge I've overcome. I did many things I enjoyed while serving with MCC, such as maintenance work on the Continental Divide Trail for 10 days straight, camping outdoors during those long periods of hitches. I really loved eating hours. Hiking up to 12 miles a day carrying tools in and out of work areas, picking up tons of litter that created flooding on our main roads, and building beaver mimicry dams that help the Blackfeet Nation adapt to climate change by increasing surface and groundwater storage. MCC has just started my road to a successful life of service, doing things to better our ancestral lands. This is my calling. I was still healing when I started MCC. As time went on, I saw how the work benefited my body more than physical therapy, so I stopped going to therapy. That sounds kind of bad, I know, but it became the best summer I had in my life. As this was my first actual job at 18 years young, it was very eye-opening. I've learned a lot, and I feel as if I made a difference for my lands. Starting MCC has created a love for the outdoors I would have never known if I didn't take the chance. I put in 110% in everything I do. Feeling the pride I have within myself went a long way. Everything I've learned created me into the leader I am today. With this, I plan to be the voice to change, getting this generation to be more involved with our ancestral lands. I strive to be a positive influence on the younger generation and young adults to put in their efforts because it is very much worth it in the end. Working on our ancestral lands has taught me that it engages Native youth and young adults in meaningful conservation projects on Native lands. In our traditions and beliefs, we regard nature with deep respect and we have a strong sense of place and belonging. Something I find very powerful is, after decades of discrimination and neglect, the role Indigenous people play as guardians of the land and the traditional knowledge that underpins it is gaining recognition with our rights to ancestral lands and the resources they contain. One of the things I'm grateful for is MCC choosing inspirational people who are excited and have the motivation to be role models to others. I've noticed that because every person on my crew was known for their efforts at one point. Everyone on my crew became a part of me, and I looked forward to seeing them every day. My crew leaders, Darcy Smith and Herb Still Smoking, were always cracking up at the things I would say or do unexpectedly. They taught me things they knew, told stories about their adventures, and would always remain fearless when I'd hear things messing with me at night during our hitches, especially when we were almost jumped by something in the bushes the very last day of work of the season. Most importantly, they were patient with me. Over time, they got to know me. I was always interested in getting to know who they were. Many times, they would check on me physically, not only because of my injuries. One time, I accidentally took an axe to the knee, and I had to hike back to camp 7 miles away, stiff-legged, and that was something they did not want to have happen again. They never doubted any of us or saw us as different. They were there to teach us, and through everything, they never showed worry or struggle. I appreciate the time, effort, tears, and frustration they had went through, keeping this crew motivated to stay together. Another powerful experience was the Yellowstone Summit. For 1 week, MCC brings together young indigenous folks with different tribal nations to work together on natural resource projects in Yellowstone National Park. In addition to sharing stories, laughter, and good food, The goal of this week is to ensure MCC hears Native voices, ideas, and perspectives, and works together to build Native programs. During this week, we also spent a day with Madi and Juanita on the leadership and liberation. Through this workshop, as part of the Core Network's Moving Forward initiative, we learned a lot about ourselves and the power we have to move past the negative messages we tell ourselves. It was a lot of fun around the campfire in which 7 different tribes are presented. Some intense hand games took place. That is where I met Taja. I'm gonna cry again. The Associate Director of Diversity and Inclusion. I appreciate the hard work she has put into this trip and everything else to get me here prepared. I am also very grateful for Lauren Gerald, who was the program manager for MCC's Northern Rockies region. She nominated me for this award. Thanks also to John O. McKinney, the CEO, for making the decision for me to represent Montana Conservation Corps. I believe anyone can make a change as a young, inspirational Native American on my reservation. It makes me excited to see peers like me make a difference for our communities. What I plan to do for my future is to be involved with MCC and also try to find a place for me in Glacier National Park. I appreciate everything Anywhere Outdoors has to offer me in the moment, but Glacier is so beautiful. I'm going to brag, it's no more than 15 miles away from home, and I can visit God's country for no cost. Winning this award has made me feel glorious and confident. I plan to use this to encourage everyone else in my community. I'm very honored to receive this significant recognition. This is a new beginning that has opened up many more beginnings, such as being offered jobs, being noticed by other organizations, and being best qualified for jobs I want to pursue. And I am excited to say that last week I landed a position on a trail crew at Glacier National Park, and I start in April. The strong relationship I have with God is me being unconditionally grateful and faithful. I believe He's given me each and every one of these individuals who impacted my life and many opportunities, especially me being this young, reaching goals one after another. It wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for the grace of God and MCC. Thank you.